Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It is a beautiful Wednesday. Today is February 18th, 2026. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about the SPE. It's come to us because of a grant that we applied for about 9 months ago and started to roll out last year. And the design is quite simple. It is designed to solve a problem. The problem that we solve is providing access to capital to small business owners who don't otherwise have access to capital. So we believe that the SPE is going to be the solution in most cases. Now, if you have someone that already has everything that's needed, which I'll describe more detailed for funding, they should just be talking to their bank. They don't need to be on the Zoom this morning. But most small business owners want money. They often need money, but usually they don't qualify. Worse yet, they usually don't know what it means to qualify. So part of the grant we received is based around building financial literacy, and you can give me your feedback, but I think we'll do a good job of that over the next few minutes explaining what does it take to have a fundable business. Now, in the background, we have the spefunding.com website. There's good information here to register for the Zoom. There's a three-step process that we ask anyone to go through. Step one is some introductory training, learning objectives are stated. Step two is some advanced training, and then there's even some bonus trainings if you want to have a deeper knowledge. And then to get engaged is step three. Come over here, click on that. It pops up on the screen, overview flyer, and then there's a simple app. The app is divided into two parts, business information on top. If we don't have any or all of that, it's okay. Key person, business owner information at the bottom, it's needed. So that's the structure of the website. If you were to take the time to go through training one, training two, training three, and training four, you'd have a really, I believe, a really deep and transparent understanding of how this advanced model works. That's our preference. But today we're going to give you an overview. And then for those of you that have had the time and opportunity to go through the in-depth training, if you have remaining questions that you need answered to decide if this is a right fit, that's where we hope to resolve that today. Now, the agenda, maybe it's a little bit marketing, but it's often perceived as over the top. Because let's read what it says. We're going to talk about how anyone, regardless of credit, regardless of time of in business, how anyone can get 250,000 in business funding through a legal model, through a legal loophole. Now, a lot of times regulators don't like those types of statements because is it too good to be true? It's not. Once we understand the model and we understand what lenders are looking for, it's absolutely factual. But at first glance, someone could read it and say, that sounds too good to be true. How would that be? Well, that's why we have all this training to explain the reality of it. As I think you all know, I'm a stage four cancer survivor. My 5 year survival rate was far less than 5%. So statistically, I shouldn't even be here giving you the Zoom this morning. But there's lots of things in life that if you don't understand how it can work, you can think, oh, it could never work. But if you take the time to learn, in my case, how immunotherapy works, or in this case, how we create fundable businesses, then it's like, oh, well, it does make sense. So let's go through and make sure it makes sense to everyone. And if you're pessimistic, you're skeptical, that's fine. But let's start with facts and knowledge, and then you can make an educated decision. But this is a true statement, by the way. All right, so there's some things that we need to know if we're in the mindset of getting funding to start or grow a business. And so this isn't marketing, this isn't opinion, these are facts. So let's go through those facts. The first of which is quite simple. If you want business funding, you need to have a fundable business. Now, at first glance, you might say, well, of course, right? You have to qualify. But I'll tell you right now, a lot of people that's out looking for funding, they're not thinking about qualification. They're looking for something that is too good to be true. No, I don't have to be qualified, but I still want to get a lot of money. Well, there's not a lender in the world that's going to take that risk. So a lot of people, they have the wrong focus. They think I need to get funding. That may be the second step. The first step is I need to have a fundable business, because without a fundable business, we're not going to get business funding. You can't skip that step. People want to all the time, but you can't. Now, historically, the challenge, the burden of having a fundable business prevented people from ever getting to that end goal. But with the SPE model, we can help what anyone get to that end goal. But I'm going to defend that. I'm going to describe that. I'm going to provide you factual information. So I think we'll end our call today saying, yes, it does make sense. It's not too good to be true. Now, beyond having this simple concept of having a fundable business, which I haven't properly described yet, I will, we also need to think about how we're going to structure the loan. So we could have a fundable business, but still not get funding if our structure, our loan package doesn't make sense to the lender. If we're asking for too much money for the wrong things, it's inconsistent with industry averages. So there's really this whole loan package element that's important in addition to the credibility of the business. But we're going to dig deeper. But both of these are important. I've had many of clients come to us that on paper from the three C's, which we'll discuss in a moment, they had the three C's, but what they wanted to do with the funding didn't match what lenders were willing to loan for. So it does take both the credibility of the business, which we provide through the SPE, as well as the right structure of the loan package, which we also provide. Now, when we get to the concept of funding, part of our grant is we need to educate, whether they want to work with us or not, we need to educate what is it that it takes to have a fundable business. And so let's take another layer deeper. There's a formula for funding, just like as I like to say, there's a formula for chocolate chip cookies, right? So it's not too good to be true, and it's not a mystery. The formula for funding is E plus the three C's. So E stands for the entity itself. Do we have a business entity that's properly formed and compliant? Not a real hard obstacle, but that's important. And then we need to have the three C's: collateral, creditworthiness, and capacity, which also sometimes is referred to as cash flow. Now, there are some unique lending instruments that do not require all three C's, but for normal business loans, SBA or non, that are term loans, normally 10 years repayment, 120 months, low interest rates, normal business loans, this is the formula. And most people don't know that, like you and I do. And worse yet, a lot of people that want funding don't have that. And that's the real obstacle. So we're going to talk about over the next few minutes how legally and ethically we provide that, because that's what's needed. If you have the formula for funding and a properly structured loan package, you will get approved. 100% of the time, you will get approved. And that's why we can make these promises that we make. Now, when it comes to many things in life, there's what's called the buy versus build. And the example I gave yesterday is for lunch today. Do you want to go to a restaurant and buy your lunch, or do you want to go home and make a sandwich and build your lunch? I know that's a very simplistic example, but that's true for clothing, for housing, for lots of things. When it comes to what you and I are talking about today, it's very, very relevant. So if we agree, and I hope you agree, because frankly, you should agree, that we do need to have a fundable business to get business funding. We do need to have a properly set up structure. There is a formula, which means we need the entity and the three C's. Now we have a choice. This is the first choice that each entrepreneur has. Do I want to go build out a fundable business, which is fine, or do I just want to get one that's already fundable? And that's what you and I are talking about today. We spent years trying to perfect how to help people build a fundable business. And all too often, people would give up before they reach that destination because it can be quite a journey based upon their starting point and where they're trying to get to. When we use the SPE, which has no out of pocket cost, we're providing them what's needed. Therefore, it's a 30-day process and it works 100% of the time. So, hopefully, this is an important concept that you can understand. If a client, if a business owner wants funding, they have to decide, do they, first of all, do they have a fundable business already? And if, which is measured here. We'll talk a little more deeply about it. But if they don't, how are they going to resolve it? Are they going to build out a fundable business, or do they just simply want to acquire one, get one, and the SPE is designed with no out-of-pocket cost to provide them one? So rather than building a fundable business, the SPE is already built out, and it's really fallen under a legal loophole that meets the underwriting criteria of the lenders. It's legal, it's ethical, it's real, it's as advertised, but we just get it instead of needing to build it. And frankly, for most entrepreneurs, that's a better option because many people are busy and they don't want to put the time and energy into building. Although they could, and we can help them build if they want. So when we talk about this SPE concept, special purpose entity, sometimes called SPVs, special purpose vehicles, there has to be a structure. And this is where it starts to get a little too complicated for some people. They're like, no, 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 Thomas, just give me the money. Well, you can't just get money. You have to have a story, a structure to present to the lender that makes sense. So what business industry is your business in? How much money does it want? What is it going to be used for? And it's easy for an entrepreneur just to come up with answers, but does it all fit together to what a lender is willing to fund? So I'll tell you exactly how we set up the SPEs and why it works 100% of the time. Does it mean that's the only way to get business funding? Absolutely not. But it's the easiest replicatable way that we can provide to anyone. So the SPE, sorry, are set up as a management consulting firm. And I might have lost you right there. You're like, oh shit, I don't want to be a management consultant. That's not what I want to do. I want to do anything else in the world, whatever it is. Well, great. This is a special purpose entity. This is a unique entity for the capital raise purpose. It is for management consulting, but that doesn't mean that you stop doing whatever else your dreams, your background, your preferences, that's in your other business. So there's going to be two businesses involved. There's your business that you're going to own and operate and do whatever you want. And then there's going to be the SPE that's designed to get the capital raise. If that makes sense, then this all works. But some people will become very simple-minded. Well, no, this isn't what I want to do for my industry, so this doesn't work. Well, it will work for the SPE. Then you can transfer the money from the SPE over to your other business and do whatever the other is. We don't really care what the other is. We're going to focus on getting funding through the SPE. I don't know if it's a downside or not, but it's realistic. When it comes to a loan package and structure, we have to identify what industry we're in. I've said that already. How much money we want, what we're going to use it for. What I've commonly seen as an error is where people will come to us and they want really large amounts of money, but they want it to be unrestricted funds. So they might want to have money on hand, let's say, to go buy real estate, but they don't know what real estate yet. So they just want a lot of money on hand. Well, based upon the industry, there's only going to be so much working capital we can borrow. Now, could we borrow more if we wanted to identify real estate and use it as collateral or inventory equipment? Of course. But the bottom line is the SPE is set up as a management consulting firm where our structure is that we are expanding into a new market, a specific market, and you get to pick the market, and we need 250,000 of working capital. So that works. Now, what do you do when someone needs more funding than 250,000? Well, we can either go build something from scratch, which can be a bit more complicated and may or may not work out in the end because most people will quit before they get to the finish line, or we can just replicate that, the model we've talked about. So let's say that we needed 500,000, then we could do two SPEs. Or I need 1 million, we could do four SPEs. Can we do them at the same time? Sure. Could we do one after another? Sure. But it can be work, we can address it cumulatively. I know that frustrates people. People want the best of everything. They want perfection. And I guess this is the biggest weakness. So can we get anyone 250,000 in about 30 days? Absolutely. However, it is designed to get 250. So if they need more than 250, we need to replicate the process or focus on a custom build. Make sense? If you have any questions, comments, concerns, type it in. So what we're doing is legally and ethically, we're providing that entire package that's needed. In the past, we've provided parts of it, but we were dependent, we were reliant upon the clients to be engaged and help with the remaining pieces. Our lesson has learned, which is more of a build approach, our lesson learned is that often doesn't work because people won't stick through it. The buy option, the SPE, will work 100% of the time, and we put that in writing. It's again going back to the chocolate chip cookie analogy. We're providing the tube of the cookie dough like you can buy in the refrigerated section of the grocery store. All we got to do is bake it. It'll work 100% of the time. But if we were going to go make chocolate chip cookies from scratch, we're going to have to go find all the ingredients, the eggs, the flour, the chocolate chips, whatever else goes into it. And you can still make chocolate chip cookies by building, by creating from scratch, but it's going to take more time and effort. And our experience is a lot of people won't put the time into it. So let's provide them the tube of chocolate chip cookie dough. All right, our model is legal, it's ethical. Frankly, we've gone through an FTC audit, a Federal Trade Commission audit, and when you hear that, you might think, well, that's negative. Well, actually, we see it as positive. Our model, our structure is 100% legal and compliant. So we're going to do what we promised to do, and our promises are valid and real. But our team's composed of attorneys and paralegals, which is the point there. Again, the detailed training is over here on SPE funding. It's on the honor system because someone could skip 1 and 2 and come right and enroll on number 3 and hit this link and it would bring up and they could get plugged in and we could have them their SPE up and going. But that's not really the intent. The intent is to have such transparency that there's essentially perfect knowledge by the participant. Because what we don't want to ever happen again is someone to come back and say, well, no one told me that. That's a surprise. Well, we don't want to be held verbally to remember to say everything that you need to know, but this training is here that will tell you everything you need to know. But any questions, comments, or concerns, you're in the right place. Go ahead and type it into the Q&A and we'll address it. Mark asked about Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Not a problem. Personal credit's not a problem. Why is it not a problem? Well, number one, not all business lenders care about personal credit. But secondly, we will provide a cosigner if needed. And that's a very important element. So no, we're not going to go make people's credit issues disappear somehow magically. We're going to leave their personal credit out of it and either focus on lenders that do not require personal credit worthiness, or we will provide a cosigner, and there's no charge for the cosigners. But the point here is to give you a summary of what's included. Again, the 4 trainings will give you more. And then also, when you click on step 3, it gives you a list of what's included. But for the sake of today's session, let's quickly go through. So, what's included? We provide a shelf corp. And they might say, well, I already have a business. Well, great. That's the other business that you're probably primarily planning on operating. We need an SPE, an SPV. We need a entity, a vehicle for this capital raise. and we provide that. Now, if you already have one and you want us to use yours, that's fine, but it's included for free, and you'll see that over here. Shelf Corporation comes with a compliant C Corp, second bullet. So that's the first thing that comes with. And then we provide collateral. Why is collateral important? It's one of the three C's. We talked about the three C's. It's what's needed for normal loans, and we provide it. It's included. Second of the three C's is credit. We add trade lines, business trade lines. So the entity has a strong business credit profile, for instance, like a strong Dun& and Bradstreet Paydex score. As far as personal credit, just as we said, we can work around that by adding a cosigner. Capacity. This is well, capacity to me has been the most challenging element to address to be able to help anyone get funding. Because you can have a business that's structured properly, that has collateral, that has credit worthiness, but lenders now more than ever are concerned about capacity, cash flow. Can the business afford to pay the debt back? Well, one way that we can establish that is by putting together projections, and we provide 36-month projections to show the lender that once we've gotten funded, here's how the business will grow. And that's very important, and that's part of a good loan package, a good structure. However, based upon the industry that we're applying under, they're going to look to see, is the business making money yet? So we've got Rod on here. So let's say Rod wants to go buy a hotel, a Holiday Inn. Well, would Rod have any income from that Holiday Inn either before he buys one or builds one and opens one? No, you don't have some income before you're open as a hotel or as a restaurant or a number of other industries. So if the industry that it's set up for would clearly have no income until it's funded, that makes sense. But there are other industries, especially service-based industries, where they're like, well, is there some proof of concept? Are you open? Do you have customers? Even though you don't have as many as you would have based upon getting funded. So capacity is important. We've learned that. It's been the biggest challenge in the past. So we literally provide capacity. Now this will blow your mind if you don't understand it, but it's legal and ethical. So going back to the agreement, it states what we're going to do is provide 250,000 of income in the first month. Income, not bullshit, not just collateral, income. You're thinking, well, how in the world are you guys going to go put 250,000 in my business in 1 month? Well, it's real simple. We're really good at attracting clients that want business funding. What we're going to do is provide an initial portfolio of 25 of them, and we're going to transfer ownership from us to you. So these are not defaulted debts. This is not a debt purchase, but we're essentially acting as your marketing arm in month one. We'll take care of the cost of the marketing. We'll go get the clients closed, not generating leads. We'll close them and then transfer them over to you. Each of those owe you $10,000. So if 25 people, 25 management consulting clients each owe you 10,000, then we're going to go collect that money or as much of it as we can. And it's literally cash coming into the bank. That is huge. All right, and then we also do guarantee a capital raise. And again, this is very sensitive because regulators like the Federal Trade Commission, attorney generals, and so forth, they're really cautious about guarantees. But we're literally able to legally and ethically make this guarantee because we're providing the tube of cookie dough. Can we provide chocolate chip cookies to anyone? Yes. We got the cookie dough, we just need to bake it. Can we provide a fundable business to anyone? Yes, because all of the ingredients are here. The entity, the structure, the three C's. So with that being said, questions often come up of, well, if I'm getting through the SPE, this quote unquote management consulting firm, what do I need to do with it thereafter other than funding? It's up to the client. There's only three options. They could actually own it and operate it, which makes a lot of sense, but they don't have to do it. It's designed to make money. Just like it's going to make 250,000 in the first month, we could keep making that in the second month, third month, and so forth. But some people don't want to make money. They just want to borrow money. So if they don't want to operate it, they don't have to, but that's option one. Option two is they could own it but not operate it. In other words, have staff, delegate it. I've told you this story many times. One of my neighbors owns a bunch of fast food restaurants. He doesn't get up every morning and go make breakfast for everyone and deliver it. He has people, his managers, general managers, staff. So you can own a business and not have to operate it and not have to personally run it, let's say. So that's second option. Or the third is we can just use it for the capital raise and then you can just never open it, never operate it. There's nothing wrong with that. It didn't make a lot of sense, but that's a choice. So that addresses the objective of, well, okay, this will work to get funding, but I don't really want to be a management consultant. I want to be a dog groomer. I just want to focus on grooming dogs. Well, fine, you groom dogs. You can either run the management consulting firm or have people run it for you, or we can just not operate it. Also, what's really nice is that once we've used it for that capital raise, it is a real business. And so you could turn around and sell it, sell even for a profit if you want. Businesses are sold every day. Businesses are bought and sold of many different industries, including management consulting. The way that we've approached it, and this is an issue where some people get lost. It's not a free program. We are not offering you a free program. It is not free. And it says it's not free over here on the flyer. It's not free. There's a cost. But the cost is paid out of financing. It's not paid out of pocket. It's paid out of financing. So we're guaranteeing a $250,000 capital raise. Is there going to be a cost of raising that capital? There will be. There's going to be a $25,000 cost, the equivalent of 10% for us to do all that we're talking about. But you don't pay for it out of pocket. It's paid out of the financing. If you're looking for free, I think you're going to be looking a long time. But this is a really nice compromise. Don't pay anything out of pocket, pay off of results. But you are going to pay essentially 10% of the capital raise. So you need to know that. We can guarantee the 250,000 in 30 days. Historically, we've been able to guarantee capital raises on a normal build model, but we could never put a timeline on it because it was too dependent on the client, on the participant. Now, since we're providing everything, we can take that accountability. 250,000 in 30 days. And as we've discussed, we can duplicate it for larger capital raises as we discussed up here. So with that, what questions do you have? We got a couple minutes left. Again, SPE funding is really where you want to go because you need, in my opinion, you need to go through steps 1 and 2 diligently. And then if you want to participate, step 3. Some of you are interested or are current affiliates. We have an affiliate model, doesn't cost anything, and that information's here at the bottom. So everything I believe is parked here on SPE funding. Who has questions, comments, concerns? All right, Aziz is asking about, and I'm paraphrasing, international applicants. What if they're outside of the U.S.? What if they don't have a social security number or creditworthiness? Not a problem. It's not restricted. That's where what I mentioned earlier, Aziz, that we can bring in a co-signer. We can do that, and we will do that if needed. Therefore, they can still own the business, they can still get the funding, they can still profit from the business, but their credit status or ability to have credit is not a prerequisite. They do need to be at least 18 years old because obviously you need to be 18 to enter into an agreement contract. All right, Mark asks, if someone already has a shelf corp, but they're wanting to use the SPE. Now, and that's fine, Mark. So if someone already has their own entity, we can use their entity for this model. Now, as I've shared, we include a C corp with this model. But if they don't want to use our C corp, they want to use their own entity from wherever we can. But I'll tell you what, as soon as we start changing variables, it worries me because now things can pop up. So let's say, Mark, they say, I want to use my own business. I don't want to use this free shelf core that comes with it. Okay, great. Now, is your business compliant? Have you filed your 2025 tax returns? Oh, no, not yet. Uh, it all of a sudden can offer variables that concern us. So we would rather people follow the model because we know it will work and we can promise, we can guarantee it'll work. But you're right, Mark. Clients are clients. And if they want to do it their way, it essentially becomes a hybrid. It becomes more of a build if they're wanting to start changing things. But client will do what they want. All right. So Alexander asked with, and we'll go over here to show. So we're providing the 250,000 in the first month he's asking about. So that's in addition to the funding. Yeah, I didn't mean to confuse that. This is capacity. This is cash flow. It's one of the three C's, remember? So let's go over here. We talked about the three C's. So this number four is regarding this. Alexander is confirming that this isn't the loan, this isn't the funding. No, no, we're going to a bank to qualify for funding. But the fact that we have a business that's actually operating, that actually has cash flow, that has capacity, meets the criteria to go get the business loan. So I know it could be confusing because $250,000 loan, which is guaranteed, which is number five, is the same dollar amount as the income, but those are two different items. So theoretically, just to frame it, so let's say that someone got an SPE and they operated it for a year, we should be able to bring in 3 million of income, 250,000 a month times 12 months, and separate from that, then we guarantee a $250,000 loan. So the loan and income, they're interrelated, but they're separate. And then Alexander also is confirming that the loan proceeds, which is number five, are unrestricted. That's right. So we're going after working capital for this 250,000. Now, Alexander, if the client wanted more than that, that is allocated towards real estate or equipment or what have you, we can go above and beyond that. But you're right. The 250,000 is structured as working capital. So in other words, they could use it as they want. Often they're going to move it over to their primary business for functioning. Let's see. Mark has asked the free C Corp, which we covered here. It's included. Yeah, it's included in the program. So we've addressed, I think, transparently. It's not a free program. There's a cost. However, the cost is paid out of financing. And this flyer here, which you can find to review at your convenience, spefunding.com. Hopefully you watch the videos first, then click on this link. It brings this up and it breaks it down for you. All right. Well, if anyone else has any questions, any concerns, let us know. We'll be back tomorrow morning, but it's the real deal. You can make an educated decision if this is going to help you get funding. If you've got a better way, do it your way. For those of you that are looking to get paid to help others, encouraged to become an affiliate. It's good income, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.